Welcome to A Woman in Nuclear podcast, the podcast that dives deep into the dynamic world of women in the nuclear industry. Join us as we explore the challenges, triumphs, and unique perspectives of women shaping the future of nuclear energy. Stay tuned and enjoy. Hello, welcome to this episode of A Woman in Nuclear podcast. Today, we, the host of this podcast, will be discussing our experience and journey in the nuclear industry and the motivation behind this podcast, A Woman in Nuclear podcast. I am joined by my co-host, Keziah Garuba. Welcome, Keziah Garuba, to this episode.
Thank you so much.
So we will dive right into it. So A Woman in Nuclear podcast is a podcast that was born out of our personal experience of lack of mentorship in the nuclear industry, especially to young generation of females in the African continent. We are not hoping to provide full mentorship, of course, to the young generation, but we are positive that through listening to this podcast, young women around the world with interest in the nuclear industry will be able to draw motivation by hearing the stories of the women who have gone far and are blazing trails in the industry. Today, I and Keziah will be sharing our experiences thus far, and we hope that as you listen, you'll be able to share in our experience and also learn practical approaches to how we resolve issues that we have encountered as young women in the nuclear industry of African origin. So, Keziah, can we meet you and know you better?
Okay, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to introduce myself, Geraldine. So my name is Keziah, and I am a graduate intern currently at the Center for Energy Research and Training, where I work with some of the experts to do some radiation protection activities of the Nigeria Research Reactor. I have an academic background in physics. I obtained my Bachelor of Science degree in physics at Ahmadu Bello University in 2021. I will be starting my master's soon in the same field, nuclear, and I belong to a number of international organizations that talk about nuclear, that try to spread the word, the advocacy, news about nuclear, such as Africa Young Generation in Nuclear, Women in Nuclear Young Generation. I just love talking about nuclear, and I love, helping people understand how peaceful it can be and how helpful it can be for the whole world. Yeah, so that's me in a nutshell.
That's interesting. That's an interesting thing about you, Keziah. I, Geraldine, who is going to be your host on this podcast. I met Keziah in Ahmadu Bello University, where I am pursuing my postgraduate degree in nuclear physics. I had my undergraduate degree from Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Awka, Nigeria, where I studied physics and industrial physics. So it has always been a dream for me to work in the nuclear industry. I've always craved a career path in the nuclear industry. So pursuing my postgraduate degree in nuclear physics was a dream come true for me. And since then, I have kept working and pursuing to build a career in this industry. And just like Keziah, I am also a member of some nuclear-related associations. The Nigerian Young Generation in Nuclear, Women in Nuclear Young Generation, Women in Nuclear Global, Women in Nuclear Africa. So, like I said earlier, it has always been a passion for me to be in the nuclear industry. So my journey in the nuclear industry did not start today. My motivation, my passion has been like a childhood dream for me. So when everybody was talking about being a medical doctor, being an engineer, being a lawyer, mine has been nuclear physicist. People did not understand. They thought I was weird. But I understood what nuclear was after I watched an Al Jazeera documentary. I came to understand nuclear better, and I saw it as a place I can carve a career for myself in. Now, that was not even where the whole passion for nuclear started. It started while I was just watching randomly an Al Jazeera news, and they were discussing about nuclear powers, and I got interested. And then subsequently, they were doing this documentary on nuclear energy, and it got me so fascinated. And I told myself at this point, I was still in secondary school, I think, yeah. I wasn't sure of the class, but I was clearly just a very young teenager. And since then, I've been like, okay, you see this nuclear, we're going to dive right into it and we're going to make something out of it. So how has it been for you? How did it start? Where did the passion come from for you, Keziah?
Okay, so for me, the passion, it came almost naturally for me because I can't tell you there was this particular thing that happened that opened my eyes to nuclear. I just grew up as a curious kid, loving science, loving physics, loving the theories about the world. And then I stumbled across this topic called radioactivity, and it began to tell me about, some of these particles we cannot see with our eyes that, have this characteristics of, being able to produce some kind of energy. So there was this mystery, there was this enigma about it that drew me in. So if I will just sum it up for you, I'd say it started from curiosity. And I don't think curiosity is a bad thing because even
No.
at the current stage I am in my career, that curiosity keeps keeps pulling me in. Yes. So that's it for me.
I think it's the curiosity because there's always this pull to the nuclear industry, no matter how much you try to move away from it. There's always this part of you that is still there and is drawing you. And I have seen that, I have experienced that a lot. And I guess that is the one area where my motivation and passion has evolved. It has gone beyond just a childlike curiosity that, okay, this, I think I find this industry interesting, let me go and see what happens there. It has evolved into something like a gravitational force that is keeping me. Probably the universe has something, a whole lot in stock for me in the nuclear industry. And I know as the day go by, we
Yeah.
will unfold that. Yeah, so the passion
Yeah.
evolved for me. It went from mere curiosity to a strong urge to make contributions, to a strong urge to be a part of some form of innovation in the industry. Do you think it's also grew and evolved for you like that?
Yes. Of course, um, especially with what, you know, nuclear has become of our current dispensation. Nuclear has become this, for me, this holy grail of clean energy. It's just a special kind of energy that is just different in its own way. So of course my perception of it is different. I no longer just see it as something to just explore and just learn more about. I now see it as something I want to really take advantage of, something I really want to intentionally put myself as a contributor to sustainable development. So yes, it has evolved in that I want to see my world better through nuclear.
Yeah, there's a whole lot the nuclear industry have to offer the world. And I just wish the oppositions against nuclear would just come around it and see things from our perspective and also understand that while their concerns are legitimate, we it's not too much for us, it's not enough reason for us to throw away nuclear potentials for us. It's
Mm-hmm.
offering a whole lot. So
Yeah.
your passion and your motivation so far as it
Mm-hmm.
has evolved,
Mm-hmm.
has it been able to keep your head high in this male, such a male dominated industry? How has this evolution in your passion and motivation helped you maintain your ground? I mean, I know SAT where you are is almost 80, more than 80% male dominated. So how has it been for you as a young woman?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for that question. So, as a young woman in the field, first of all, as a young African, when we we see the perception of STEM education, there's still this gender disparity that is associated with it. So me finding myself in SAT as one of the few women is not that alien. It's not that foreign to me. That's the first thing. But then it's special in its own way because even the International Atomic Energy Agency and the Nuclear Energy Agency, they recognize that just 25% of women constitute this field. So for me, just knowing that helps me to empathize with the rest of the world, with other women who find themselves in this space. Because it's unfortunate that you still hear of things like, pay parity, where women are being paid less than men for the same work. It's unfortunate that we still, hear of some gender biases, whether unconscious or conscious. For me, it just brings this sense of awareness. This sense of awareness. I enjoy, at SAT, there are privileges I enjoy as a woman. It's a
Yeah.
very supportive environment,
Yeah.
especially for a young woman like myself. Yes. So I won't say that I suffer any disadvantage as a woman. Knowing that this is a male-dominated field helps me to empathize with the rest of the world, and that is why I try my best to, include myself in any activity or initiative that helps to amplify the voices of women, just like this podcast we're doing. Yes, I try
Very
to delve
well.
to put myself into any research or anything that I feel women in the nuclear field are going to benefit from. So
Very well.
that's one way that being a woman has affected me in the field.
That's interesting. That's interesting. And I must share with you that yes, very well. Um, in fact, there's a whole lot of support to women in the field. When I joined ABU Zaria,
There
I
is.
did not so much attach myself to SAT because I saw it was just male everywhere and But when I started getting close, I found out that I have been cheating myself for running away from SAT. Like I now wish I had started becoming close to the staff at SAT way back when I joined Zaria. But it's still good. It's still very
Yeah.
much, nothing is less. And for me, we are just two females who are studying nuclear in my set. And in the
Wow.
set after me,
Wow.
there is no female. And I think the set before me, there was also no female. So this is actually the much
Hmm.
of gender gender difference in the industry is quite a very wide gap. Imagine 25% of an industry only being female. So the rest 75%, that's a ratio of 1 to 3. That's a lot. So I think
That's a whole lot.
it's a whole lot. While of course we empathize the lack of active representation of women in the industry, I must also say that I have only found at a very large extent positivity. Only on few occasions have I had to deal with a male not being comfortable with a woman being in this industry. I think just one actually, if I am being honest. It's just one. And I was so happy that this person was cautioned immediately by the other males. They were like, no, you don't do that. And I'm like, okay, there is
Yeah.
a whole lot of emphatic males here who are not carried away and they're not like, she's female. They understand that we need female in this industry. So they do what they do to keep the female. But one other thing I have noticed in the industry is there is this cosmetic, in quotes, appreciation of women. Imagine being given a position because you are female, not because first of all you qualify for it. Do you think it is a problem we should be concerned about, or should we just, as long as I get the position?
Okay, thank you very much. That's a very, very important question. So I'll start by quoting quoting a statement that I heard from someone that really gave me a perspective to what you're asking. So it says that if you get invited because you're a woman, attend. But next time, make sure you get invited because you're an expert. Yes. So
That's interesting, actually. Yeah.
so in retrospect, we're saying that we should, in a bid to ensure inclusivity and diversity, we should not lose out on the points that we're actually trying to make. Yes. So we want to ensure that the field is gender inclusive. And we have identified some problems that are, hindering this gender inclusivity. Some problems like, lack of initiatives to attract women to the field. There's no mentorship. There's some social cultural problems. That's why we, try to attract women to the field. So, but when it now becomes an issue of, just bringing women into the field because they are women, then the 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 message gets lost.
Very
The
well.
message gets lost.
Very well.
So I think qualified women should be in positions that they deserve to be. Not just because they are women, but because they deserve to be there. That's inclusion and that's diversity. And that's
Very
also
well.
professionalism. We keep
Very well.
everything and nothing suffers.
Very well.
Yes.
Very well.
So
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. So, and I stand by that. I really stand by that, especially in the general terms of beyond the nuclear industry, in science entirely, and also in terms of leadership. I stand by that. Women shouldn't just be brought in because they are women, but because they are very good at what they do, just as much as their male counterparts. So,
yes.
your career path, how has it been and how is it looking, just in a nutshell?
Okay, my career path. So I would call myself a young professional. Yes, a young professional because first of all, I'm a bachelor's degree holder. I have a Bachelor of Science in Physics, and I had the opportunity to do this long-term internship at the Center for Energy Research and Training, where I'm being trained, where I have the opportunity to apply my theoretical knowledge and skills. So I would say I have learned a lot, but I still want to learn more. Yes, the nuclear field is wide and deep and broad, and I want to travel this journey to really see where I'm going to specialize in and stay there for you know, as long as necessary for me to contribute substantially to the sustainable development of the nuclear field. My journey is still happening, still happening, still happening. I'm still at the initial stage of my I'm still at the initial
There's
stage
still a
of
whole
my
long way to travel.
nuclear journey, and there's a whole long way for me to travel. But I am enjoying it. I'm enjoying every bit of it. Yes.
That's actually very important.
That's
to
it for
enjoy
me.
the ride as
Yes.
you
But
go.
how about you?
Well,
Thank you.
I don't know. Like I said, mentorship is one thing I suffered. I've always wanted to be in the nuclear industry, but I did not know how to get into it. But lucky for me, after my graduation, I moved into the tech industry because that was where I could readily find a job, and then I saw an immediate career growth. I had this hope that afterwards I will go back into the nuclear industry when, I have this personal, this personal motto I live by, which I learned just after my graduation. I don't know if it applies to everybody, so this is not an advice to everybody. So it says, pursue the money, then use the money to fund your passion. So I tried pursuing the money so that when I get the money, I'll come back to to my passion, which is nuclear. But like we stated earlier, there's this gravitational pull towards the nuclear industry that you experience once you have a genuine interest in the industry. So this pull kind of brought me out of the tech industry and took me into a postgraduate degree in nuclear physics. And I think that's the best thing that has happened to me in pursuing my nuclear dreams, because I get to meet a lot of people. First and foremost was Abubakar Aliu Sadiq. He was an angel sent to me. So he laid out the road. He was the first mentor I would say I had in the nuclear industry. He put me through one or two and then was able to hand me over to persons he felt were better than him that would help me grow. And it's been growing all through. It's been growing all through. So for now, I can't tell you this is the next step. I'm still trying to figure things out, considering that I did not start early as I wished. But at the point where I am, yes, I'm very much looking forward to probably staying in research and development. Since my research work involved simulation and modeling, I've had this very strong interest in simulation and modeling. And I wouldn't mind staying there, but this time as research. I also look forward to bringing in some of my tech knowledge into the nuclear industry. I recently found this new hobby, which is artificial intelligence. I find myself doing one or two things with artificial intelligence, from creating images to writings and videos and everything I could possibly do with artificial intelligence. And I'm also exploring the role of artificial intelligence in the nuclear industry. So I know that with time, my career will dive deep into tech and the nuclear industry, because of course I've always loved tech. I know nuclear industry, the nuclear is my first love, but then there is also this tech passion I have. So I know that I'll be able to merge these two, and artificial intelligence is one way I have seen. Now, when you talk about being a woman in a field as nuclear and also looking at bringing in artificial intelligence, which is more like a new wave trend, there are some challenges, of course, I will have to deal with being a woman at this point. And,
Exactly.
The challenges I can't even sit and begin to mention because I have not stepped into it. The funny thing is, there is this unraveling you will experience once you step into something, once you begin to participate actively, you begin to see challenges that you never anticipated. So there are, of course, a whole lot of challenges in pursuing my dream, in pursuing a particular career path in the nuclear industry. So one thing I'm optimistic is that as long as there is this still gravitational pull that keeps us there is this passion, I'm sure we would definitely surmount it. So how does being an African affect being a nuclear scientist, a female nuclear scientist?
Being an African. Okay. So I'm going to come from this angle, okay? I've had the opportunity to, meet people from different parts of the world, through conferences and, some international meetings. And I'm casting my mind to, how it feels. So I'm amongst these people who have a developed nuclear sector already, amongst these people who have a robust educational system. And then if it's a conference, let's say, I remember the very first international conference I attended, there were numerous research that I have never heard of. Numerous. And I wouldn't lie to you, it was intimidating.
I understand.
Intimidating. It's been quite a journey, In Africa, we don't have so much nuclear energy. We have just one nuclear power plant, which is in South Africa.
Right.
And then we have some research reactors in Nigeria, in Ghana, So I would say, first of all, my exposure, it's a bit limited. Yes, so it's a bit limited. So I still have more to learn, which is why, there's deliberate effort to, engage with the international community just like you and I, we're engaged in organizations like Women in Nuclear. It helps us to meet other young professionals like ourselves. So it's been quite a journey, really. It's been quite a journey, you know. There's a way we do things here, which is different from how things are done, outside. So there's this holistic perspective that being an African has allowed me to see and enjoy. So it's been a journey. It's been a learning journey. In a short sentence, that's how I'll say. Yeah.
Well, like you said, yes, it's been overall a learning journey. At some points advantaged, at some other points disadvantaged. But you see, this variety is what makes it more interesting. And that is what at the end
I
of the
agree.
day, at the end of the day, it will even make you stronger in all ramifications because you've had to endure and overcome a whole lot of barriers to get to the point where you are. But we are very much hopeful that as time goes on, Africa will pick up. And of course, we've seen some very nice momentum coming from Kenya, coming from Ghana. We've seen South Africa trying its best to improve on what they already have. And I very much believe that if this momentum keeps up, if we keep up this pace across the continent, we will also experience an increase in human capital development in the nuclear industry within the continent because as long as there are opportunities of employment and internship, the industry will become more lucrative to people. And then we'll see more people and consequently we'll see more women coming into the industry. So I believe this is one of the key changes that is needed in the nuclear industry in Africa. And I am very optimistic that the rest of the world who has gone beyond where Africa is today has so much to contribute and make it much more easier for us to get to where they are. And of course, I've seen a whole lot of contribution from the United States towards knowledge transfer and sharing technologies and trying to fund projects within the continent to just make sure that we have an active nuclear industry. Nigeria is also picking up pace. We've seen one or two announcements and policy developments, and we are positive that with the political willpower we are seeing right now, in our lifetime, we'll see Africa become part of the nuclear giants we have. So
I agree.
So what do you think about mentorship and role model when it comes to women in the nuclear industry? How important is it for young women in the nuclear industry?
Okay. I think, it's important to have guidance because there is a path that has been explored already, of which the young generation can learn from, of which the young generation can partake in. So, especially for women, not just, mentorship is important in the nuclear field, both for men and for women. It's important, so it's an important part of the profession. But for women particularly, it's a field that is, sparsely populated by women. We have female pioneers like Mary Curie, like Liz Meitner. They had zero or almost zero mentorship, or, there was no guidance. So we can only imagine the amount of trial and error you have to go through in order to become these valiant and, these very successful women. Now, they have paved the way for us. And because of their discoveries, because of their hard work, because of their research, we can, we can do things easier than we would have we can do things easier than we wouldn't have been able to without them. So mentorship and role model and mentorship and role models are very important in this field. Yeah, they cannot even be overemphasized because this field it demands it. It demands it. The success of the career of some women literally depend on it. Like yourself, you shared your own experience of, not having mentorship, not having guidance when you started. And compared to where you are now in your career, you owe some of it to mentorship.
Very well. A whole lot of it. Everything, if I am being honest, because if I look back and if I had half of the mentorship I have today, if I have had half of it after I graduated my bachelor's, I think I wouldn't be where I am today. This is me being completely honest. So the role of mentorship cannot be overstated. It's something that makes the career pursuit of your career way easier, because someone has traveled the road, has made all the mistakes, like you rightly said. So all you need to do is to sit under this person, and he says you don't have to keep doing this trial and error. Just do this, and that's all. You already know what to do, and to get to the result you are hoping and you are looking forward to. So the place of mentorship cannot be overstated, and that is why I am so much appreciative of what Win Global is doing via Mentor City. I myself, I have tried to participate there, and I am so happy because now I am being able to have access to women, particularly Nigerian women, who can very much relate to what I am passing through, because we're in the same environment and there's likelihood of having to have dealt with the same barriers. So when you approach them, they will tell you, this is how I overcame this barrier. And you don't need to overcome this barrier again, because someone has shown you what to do to even evade the barrier entirely. So the role of mentorship can never be overstated. It's very, very necessary if we are fighting for inclusion in this industry. We need to have and see more women be disposed to mentoring the younger generation. If we are very much serious about bringing in more women and seeing these younger women grow to where the older ones have. So share your thoughts on the future of the nuclear industry and the role of women in it.
Yes. So I'll always say it whenever, I have the opportunity to talk about, why I think women should be in this space. So the first thing, that comes to my mind is, women bring this nurturing perspective into whatever field they have the opportunity to be in. So this is the diversity that we're advocating for. When you have a room full of men, it means you have men doing it the men's way. There is no diversity. There is no flavor. There's nothing special. Yes. So I'm glad that the international organizations such as the International Atomic Energy Agency are putting in policy frameworks to see that women, have a place in the field. So if you ask me about the future, honestly, the future looks good. It looks good. It really looks good. There are scholarships now that are strictly just for women, you know, to enter into the field. Scholarships like the IEA Mercury Scholarship. There's, there are programs for young career women, the Liz Meitner program. There are some of these workshops that they prioritize women. They prioritize the attendance of women. It shows that, people are beginning to, know about how important it is for women to be in this field. And, they are also putting in efforts. They're making deliberate efforts. So if you ask me, the future looks really, really good. I really look forward to that day when we're going to have the statistics, if not 50-50, men 50, women 50. It should be close, yes, because 75-25 is way too wide. It's way too wide.
It is actually very
Yes.
wide.
So
I believe in the saying that variety is the spice of life, and I very much agree with you that women bring in this different flavor into the environment. When a woman walks into a boardroom, there is a different approach. Things are seen from a very different perspective, and it gives balance, considering that men view things in a particular way and women view things in a particular way. So now, when you have different ways of viewing things, you are able to get a more holistic idea of what you are dealing with or what you want to deal with. So very, very much the future of nuclear is going to be way brighter than we are imagining with an active participation of women. I mean, if we look back to the past of nuclear energy and see the role women have played, I don't know what we'll be discussing, how much we'll be discussing about nuclear if we take out Marie Curie from it.
Yeah, Nneka. And in addition to that, I'd also want to say that I think not just for women, but for the world, the future of nuclear really, really looks good because we have a very, very knowledgeable and intentional workforce that is coming in. We have people who are deliberate about the kind of change they want to see in their world. Nuclear is all about clean energy and sustainable development. Aside that, we also have people who are keen on effecting this change in the ways that they ought to be. So as a woman, as a man, the future of nuclear looks really good.
Yes, very well. I agree with you that the future for nuclear is bright, very, very bright, more than what we are envisaging. And I believe so much in the role of women in making this future as bright as we hope to have it, as bright as we are imagining. We are seeing newcomer countries springing up across the world. We are seeing Africa taking the big leap in embracing this technology. So the future is definitely bright with the increasing climate crisis. We see that nuclear is not going back any longer. Yeah, the people are coming to accept it more. Environmentalists are coming around to understand that very well nuclear is not the enemy. Instead, it is a solution. So very well, the future is bright for us.
And for you, for any young woman out there who is dreaming about what her future will be like, if she takes that big step to enter this field, I want you to know that your dreams are valid. And now is the time to start. Now is the time to start implementing on those dreams that you have. You need to just be courageous. You need to believe in yourself. And like we said, there's a lot of initiative out there for who are very, very intentional about contributing in ways that they can. And Neka, I really enjoyed this session. I enjoyed talking about my journey. I enjoyed talking about what I think the future would look like and what I think the sector currently is. So
thank you for being part of today's episode, Keziah. It was interesting and really fun having you and I discuss our journey so far in the nuclear industry. We share the same optimism for the future of nuclear. We share the same optimism for the role of women in the industry. And it is based off of this that we are launching this podcast so that we'll be able to have an avenue for women to share their story and inspire the younger generation of women to come in and take part in this glowing future of nuclear. Thank you for listening to today's episode of A Woman in Nuclear podcast. We hope you are inspired. Don't forget to follow us on all our socials at A Woman in Nuclear. Catch you on the next episode.